What's up, everyone? Hey, I got a cool thought for you today. Okay, the thought goes along the lines of this: why does our brain see negative so often? So, like, why do we get in such negative ruts? Why are we drawn? Why are we drawn so strongly to the news that is very negative, or to when in a time of crisis, only seeing the negative and not the positive of things that are going along in our lives, and maybe even in our own personal life? Why is it that when there's so much good around you, oftentimes you will only see the negative instead of gravitating towards the good? And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Here is an example of how this is also true with animals. So, as much as I love my dog Zella, come here, come on. As much as I love Zella, she's fluffy, she's cute, she is adorable. She's also been annoyingly cuddly lately, which I know some of you are like, oh, I wish I had a dog that was annoyingly cuddly. You do until you don't, okay? I'm not sure why. She's been super cuddly lately. I think my wife was starting to get sick a little bit, and so what was really interesting yesterday, she was just like fixated on Sarah the entire day, and Sarah just wasn't feeling well. She had a headache, like really strong headache, but Zella would just not stop looking at her. Would just staring at her, would cuddle her, would like make sure that she was like there for the whole time. Really interesting. Okay. But that's besides the point. So I'm going to give you an example of how animals also see the negative. As much as I love Zella, she's actually trained really well. But one thing she does that I hate is when somebody knocks the door. You just burp. When somebody knocks the door, she has this instinct to start barking. And, that happens with a lot of dogs. They start barking. Why do they do that? Well, what she understands that if the doorbell rings or somebody knocks the door, then that means that there's a stranger there, somebody that she does not know. And so what her mind does is it says, that is a potential negative situation that I need to warn my pack about, because that could mean danger. So in a wolf pack, if a creature that you do not know comes upon you and is bigger than you, just like someone knocking the door is bigger than Zella, is bigger than the pack, quote unquote, then in order to stay alive, that wolf would have to warn the rest of the pack, and that's how you do it, is by barking or by howling. And so Zella, she's to the point where she won't, unless she's caught off guard, she won't bark like really loud, but what she'll do is she'll start growling, and she'll go like, it's very interesting. So watch, I'm gonna see if she'll do it. She gets all nervous, and whenever she hears like someone knocking at the door, she gets nervous because her mind is saying, danger, there's potential danger there. Okay, so this happens also whenever there is like crisis. So for example, when we first started knocking doors, when the coronavirus stuff came out, I was scared out of my mind. Why was I scared? Because I was scared about all the potential pain that might be associated with people seeing me as someone knocking their door, not taking it seriously. All the rejection that would come along with knocking someone's door during like a pandemic, right? I was like, my mind was hyper aware of all of the potential negative outcomes, and it was very hard to focus on all the positive outcomes. Now, I wasn't thinking in my mind right away like, oh, this might be better to knock in this time because everybody's home. Or another positive would be like, even though a lot of people can't afford it, the people that can afford it will be way more interested because they will be looking for something that's quality, right? A quality service. But instead of going to all those positives, my mind just went towards like, the rejection is going to be more painful during a pandemic than normal. People aren't going to want to open their doors. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you just start listing all of the negatives, like, okay, crap. Well, the economy, what if nobody can afford it? What if, nobody answers their door to me because they're scared about the virus, blah, blah, blah. All of these things, right? Those are all the negatives that my mind started to see. And I started asking myself, like, why is it that my mind gravitates towards seeing all the negatives and not towards the positives? And I was not in my best emotional state at this time when I was getting prepared to knock, because I just was worried like about the sales program, what's going to happen, etc. So what's happening there? I started researching this and was working with a mental coach about this stuff. And the guy that I work with, who's a mental coach, what he specializes in is cognitive distortions, and how your limbic system, the animal part of your brain, always is scanning the horizon to look for potential painful situations or potential danger to avoid you of that danger. And the thing is, it doesn't even have to be physical danger. It can be emotional danger that it's trying to warn you and keep you away from, okay? So my mind, my animal mind, which that's oftentimes what it's referred to as the reptilian brain or the animal brain or the old brain, is the limbic system, is this, I share the very similar qualities with Zella, all humans do, in the limbic system with animals and with reptiles specifically. And what that part of the brain is designed to do is to protect you from pain, because pain means future danger. So why does our fallen, or why does our reptile mind or our old brain always go towards the potential pain, the outcomes that are painful? It's because it's saying like, hey, if you go knock doors today and you try your hardest and everybody rejects you, you wasted your day and it's really emotionally painful. So in order to avoid that emotional pain, even though you have the potential to get sales, even though it could potentially not be painful, it's very likely that it will be painful. And so therefore, to avoid that emotional pain and to avoid that danger, you should just not do it. Okay, so that's what your brain is telling you. And especially, so like think about for yourselves, if you're thinking about like, oh, what's going to happen? Am I going to have a job this summer? And, all of the potential painful things associated with knocking doors during the coronavirus or coming out and working still, or will there, will you even be able to with whatever. Your mind is telling you, look, it's going to be a lot more comfortable if you don't even endeavor to do that, because if you endeavor to do that, there are potential outcomes that are painful, including being rejected. And so therefore, I want to protect you from that. Okay, so that's what the back part of our brain, the animal part, the old brain does. Same part of the brain that we share with Zella, that when someone knocks the door, immediately her mind goes to stranger, which means danger, which means potential pain for me and my pack. So therefore, I have to warn the pack because of the danger. Okay, that's what our brain's doing. But we are not animals. We are actually humans, and the thing that makes us different than animals is the prefrontal cortex, which is the front part of the brain, the frontal lobe. So it's a lot smaller, but what happens in the frontal lobe is this is the values center of the brain. Okay, so this values center of the brain allows us to, when we move into this values, it allows us to make decisions that are much more rational, that are maybe even more high risk, but we're able to avoid the emotional potential downfalls. We're able to mitigate them and see a lot more abundance rather than scarcity. Because the animal part of the brain sees scarcity because it wants us to avoid pain. The prefrontal cortex sees abundance and opportunity. And when we are there, when we make decisions, when we are in the prefrontal cortex of the brain making decisions, it allows us to make our best decisions and to do so in a state that sees all of the great potential outcomes and is much more optimistic, and is actually much more accurate in truth rather than the back part of the brain. So there are three things that allow us to make decisions based on values rather than based on emotion in the back part of the brain. And those three things are exercise. So my mental coach, he calls this heart rate therapy, getting your heart rate above either above 140 for an extended period of time or above 170 beats per minute, 180 beats per minute for a shorter amount of time. That actually balances out the chemicals. So it balances out chemicals in your mind and it puts you in the prefrontal cortex. You actually, if you hook up people that are doing exercise to brain scanners, it shows that their prefrontal cortex starts lighting up. So that feeling, that oxygen high when you're running, the runner's high, or when you get to a certain point when you're running, like if you're running 3 or 4 miles, right around like mile 2, it stops becoming painful and you just start feeling like a dopamine rush. Actually, what's happening is your mind is shifting from like, oh, this is painful, I want to stop, from the limbic system, to it shifts to the front of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, and says, hey, this is actually pretty pleasurable. I'm actually in control of my body. I'm starting to see things clearly. And then you have creative ideas. Like a lot of my creative ideas will come at the gym when my heart rate is elevated, because it levels me out, puts me in the decision-making part of the brain, and I'm out of the part of the brain where I'm only thinking of potential danger, right? So this is very interesting because I'm going to tie this into like sales. Right now, so I woke up this morning and I thought to myself, I don't really want to work out today. It's kind of rainy outside. It's really muggy. It's foggy. I mean, it could potentially be raining. Can you imagine doing a workout in the rain? That'd be horrible, right? I want to stay in bed. So what's happening is I'm waking up and the limbic system is saying to me, look, it's a lot more comfortable to not take risks today. And the more comfortable you can be, the more pain you avoid, which means you're avoiding dangerous outcomes, emotionally dangerous outcomes for yourself. That's basically what it's saying. But as I was able to force myself to make decisions based on my values, based on how I want to be disciplined, based on how I want to be an example, based on how I want to be in control of my body and my emotions, as I made a decision based on that to go out and work out anyway, what happens is I got my heart rate up, and so now it kind of shifts to that the frontal cortex and just says like, hey, now I can make really good decisions today. Now I'm thinking I want to go out and knock today and prove to myself that I can get some sales right now because how cool would that be to be a leader and an example? How cool would that be to inspire other people that they can do it too? How cool would that be when I'm looking in my future and talking to my kids and saying, look, I got up every day and I knocked doors during the coronavirus outbreak. And I was safe about it. I was sensible about it, but I did it because I valued the commitments that I had made to people. I did it because I valued finding solutions rather than just shriveling up and being like everybody else. I did it because I valued more the outcomes, the positive outcomes that would happen if I put myself through that pain and uncomfortability. I value that more than the outcomes that would occur if I was comfortable. So I would just challenge you to think today, as you're kind of making decisions today, and you're saying like, and especially as the time gets closer for you to come out during the summer, start thinking about like, what. So if I start to have feelings of like, I don't know if I want to do this, or like, or day to day, you're saying like, I don't want to get out and knock doors today. I'm just not going to try very hard today. When you have the feeling to not try very hard, or to take a break, or to go to the bathroom and spend a lot of time at the gas station, what your brain is doing is protecting you from the potential outcome of pain if you were to try and fail, okay? But what you need to do is say, I am stronger. Condition yourself through exercise. The second one is through meditation, and the third one is through a practice of gratitude. If you can condition yourself to exercise daily, to have a practice of meditation, and to show gratitude and feel gratitude, those are the three things that shift to the values, shift your decision-making process to the value part of your brain, rather than the part of the brain that's just trying to protect you and actually will make you make stupid and irrational decisions to protect you that are against your values. So people who are in addiction, this is what happens, is addiction actually, you just go on overdrive into the back part of your brain and say, hey, how do I avoid pain and get really comfortable and kind of numb this all out? Anyway, so those are the three things that you do to get out of the animal brain and into the human brain and make decisions according to your values. Is exercise, practice gratitude, actually practice it, meaning like try to feel gratitude for the things in your life and recognize the gratitude in your life. And the third one is meditation, because meditation, what it does is it focuses your mind on the present and the now, which allows you to also get out of the animal part of the brain. Because think about it, if you're in the animal part of the brain that's always looking to scanning the horizon for danger, essentially what's happening is you're always living in the future. You're always saying like, oh, hey, how do I avoid X, Y, and Z? Okay, I'm going to plan this really intricate way of how I'm going to make it look like I'm working today, but I'm not really, so that I know that if I don't get any sales, I can at least say, oh, I didn't get any sales because of X, Y, and Z. That's so irrational, but that's your animal part of your brain scanning the future and making you make stupid decisions in the present because of some weird, potential, risky, painful outcome in the future, right? But instead, meditation and gratitude, feeling gratitude and exercise, it puts you in the present, and it says, no, like, I'm in control. So yes, the future might be risky. Yes, if I go out and work today. Yes, if I come out and sell this summer, it might be a little bit risky. There's going to be pain involved for sure, but I cannot grow without that pain. This is my best opportunity to become the best version of myself. So I challenge you guys today to do something that takes you out of the animal part of the brain, the part of the brain that's always trying to just warn you of danger. It's such a horrible way to live, right? For you people who are kind of negative, you're just used to living in the comfortable animal part of your brain, and so therefore you always do things that just make you comfortable. Take yourself out of that by doing exercise, getting your heart rate up, by expressing and practicing gratitude, and by meditating. If you do that, then you're going to make way stronger decisions that are in line with your values. The things that you care about and value most. Do you care about and value your word? I do. I for sure do. Do you care about and value the people around you? Yeah, 100%. Do you care about being an example and following through with the things that you say you're going to do and doing it in a way that's good and that provides value to the people around you? Or would you rather just hold that all to yourself because you're afraid that, like, if you share it with other people, that they're going to somehow, like, get. I used to have this complex where I would not share things with people around me that I knew were working because I was afraid that if I told them, they would. This is so crazy. I was afraid that if I told people the things that were working, so like when I was first like leading teams, right? I was afraid that if I told the people the things that were working, especially people that were not associated with me in our company, I was afraid that if I told them, then they would somehow apply them and get better than me. That was the animal part of my brain saying, "Hey, there's some pain here if you tell someone something that works and then you lose because of it. That's going to be painful. So don't do that." So I would just hide all those things. But that's not abundance, that's scarcity, right? So now my mentality is I'm going to provide value to everyone around me. I'm going to open my book to the secrets that are working, especially the people that work with me, because I actually want everyone working with me to be better at those things than even I am. That's how I can give value. So anyway, guys, thanks for listening. We ramble a little bit. This is a little video on why our brains always find the negative and how you can get them to gravitate towards the positive. Last thought was, as I was listening to this podcast this morning by an expert in this subject, and what he said was, our brains are so hardwired to take in data and only see negative that if we do not practice gratitude, if we don't exercise, and if we don't have a meditation practice, then we literally will be only seeing negative throughout the day, and we will miss the things that are the most beautiful in life. So I challenge you guys to connect with your values today by doing one of those three things, and I hope everybody has a freaking amazing day, okay? Have an amazing day. I love you guys all. I hope everybody is just pumped to knock doors this summer. Not sure what's going to happen with the coronavirus stuff. I don't think anybody knows, but I know that I'm optimistic, and I'm going to freaking find solutions no matter what. I'm going to find solutions no matter what, and there is nobody that cares more about the individual success and progress of the people working with them than I do, than the people in this like organization. So love you guys. Hope you have an amazing day. We'll talk to you soon.